Hello and welcome. This is your Saturday News at noon. I'm your host, Keith Lander, coming to you from the Tabernacle Baptist Church right here in Dayton, Ohio. So thank you for all your comments for the last show. I appreciate you. And like I always say, if you write a comment, I'll definitely hit the like button to make sure I seen it, make sure you know I seen it. So keep that coming. I appreciate that. And pass this show on to your friends because we try to provide as much information as we possibly can so that we can keep you informed and keep your family and friends informed as to what's happening out in the latest news. Now, today we don't have a guest, so it's just me. And we're going to start today's show, as we usually do, with the scam alert. Now, this week's scam alert has to deal with government grants scam. I'm pretty sure you've seen those ads where they offer free education pay and free money for businesses and free health care monies and all that kind of thing. You've probably seen them. They pop up on some of these social networks, the ads that says government free money. Well, be very cautious of that, folks. And this is a report from the Federal Trade Commission. Federal Trade Commission says, these scammers, they even make it look like it come from an official government site, but it's not. These scammers, they'll promise you big money, big promises. They'll say you don't have to pay the money back. They'll say you can pay your household bills, your personal needs, and this sort of thing. They even have a fake phone number so you can call in and try to get information on this, what they call free money from these government grants. But be very cautious, folks, because these people are scammers. They're hunting for information. And once they get your information, man, it's hard they'll have all kind of headaches for you in the future. Now, here's what you need to know. Governments won't get in touch with you out of the blue for grants. They won't call you. They won't reach out through social media or email you. Now, if you want to know something about government grants, there is a website. And you can look up this website. It's called grants.gov, and that's www.grants.gov. And you can look it up on the official website. The Federal Trade Commission also say never share your financial information with anyone who contacts you. The government agency will never contact you in that fashion. So if you have somebody contact you like that, it's usually a scam. So be very cautious. Also, don't pay for a government's grants list. You don't have to pay for these lists. You can get these lists at the site I just gave you, the www.grants.com. You can get these free lists, so you don't have to pay for these lists to get what governments do have in the way of grants. So be very cautious of that, y'all. If they say it's free and it sounds too good to be true, like I said on the last show, it probably is not true. So these people are real slick. Make sure if you do investigate some of these claims, what these companies are supposed to do with these grants, check these people out. Do an investigation. Contact the Better Business Bureau. Go to grants.gov and see if these people are legitimate. Because there's a lot of slicksters out there, folks, and I don't want you to be taken by one of these con men or women. So, local news. Trucking firms looking to fill openings. There's a lot of openings in the trucking business. That's the big trucks, the big rigs. And Kevin Birch, who is the Vice President of Sales and Government Affairs for Martin Transportation System in Dayton, is looking for folks. He said, according to Mr. Birch, he says the industry is struggling to find drivers of large trucks. Now, these good jobs pay very well, folks. And if you're looking for a job and you got a CDL and you can drive a big rig truck, I suggest you contact Martin Transportation Systems in Dayton. And I guarantee you, Kevin will put you behind the wheel of a truck if you meet the qualifications, because they need folks, and these jobs, I tell you, they pay very well. So if you know anybody, let them know that Martin Transportation Systems is hiring. You can contact Kevin Birch, and maybe, hey, you'll get yourself a job and you can take care of your family and yourself. So don't let that go by the wayside. Also, Chewy, the company Chewy, is looking for 400 workers near the Dayton International. Pet goods e-commerce company Chewy Inc. needs more than 400 new workers at its distribution center near the Dayton International Airport. Now, these jobs also pay good. The company said it's hiring full and part-time positions for fulfillment at the center at 3280 Lightner Road. Now, the center already has 1,300 workers already working there. Now, these people, they also have some sign-in bonuses, folks. Joanna Hess, who is the spokeswoman for Chewy, said the new hires can earn up to $20.50 an hour, depending on shift and job, with sign-on bonuses of $500. Man. And also, referral bonuses of $500 and temporary overtime incentives up to $500 in addition to overtime pay. Now, that's hard to beat, folks. Chewy.com. Now, if you want to look for a job at Chewy, I do have a website. You can go to chewy.com/jobs. That's chewy.com/jobs. Now, they need 400 people, so don't procrastinate. Make sure you get down there to take advantage of some of these job opening people. I mean, these are very good jobs at $20.50 an hour. You know, you can't hardly beat that, and with some benefits to go along with it. So full and part-time. That's chewy.com/jobs. And, you know, and if you know anybody, pass that information on, because these people are hiring. Some of these jobs are good paying jobs. And so we want to make sure that you don't get left out if you're looking for a job in the job market. I read a post that said gas prices are the highest in a decade. Now, gas prices are going up, but that's not an accurate description of the gas prices. And so what happens with gas prices is that the OPEC oil cartels in Russia have voluntarily produced cuts, and which leads to rising prices, according to Mark Finley, a fellow at the Center for Energy Studies at Rice. And so he says the biggest spike or factor in gas is a slow, steady economy recovery from the coronavirus pandemic. And so he also goes on to say that, you know, gas prices is always, it's a supply and demand. And so once the demand is up and the oil production is not, that also pushes the oil prices up. And so people like to blame the president. They wanted the president to do something about these gas prices. He had no control over the gas prices, no matter who the president is. None. This is his control. You know, that's the OPEC cartel in Russia who has a hand in all these oil prices, which fluctuates the price of gas. So it's a supply and demand, folks. That's how it works. You know what I mean? So I just want to make sure that people get the right information as far as how these gas prices work. I did read a study from Yale News, and Yale News did a study from Yale University, that is. They did a study that finds that expanded job benefits did not reduce employment. Did you hear that right? Because there have been some people. Now, study was done based on the $600 that was added during the pandemic, not the $300. But the same thing applied. People were saying, nobody's working because they're getting this extra money and they don't want to go to work. Well, this Yale study contradicts that. And it says a new report by Yale economists finds no evidence that the enhanced jobless benefits Congress authorized in March in response to the COVID-19 pandemic reduced employment. So this is a Yale study. Yale, and this is economics from this Yale study. The researchers assessed that the claim using weekly data from Homebase. Now, this Homebase is a company that provides scheduling, timesheets, and software to small businesses throughout the United States. The findings suggest that the expanded benefits neither encouraged layoff during the pandemic's onset nor deterred people from returning to work once business began reopening. So that's the one study that has been done that measures the effects of this expanded benefits. And so all those people out there talking about the expanded benefits cause people not to go to work, well, if they can come up with another study that opposes this Yale economist study, then I'll take a look at it. But until then, you're just spitting in the wind because you have no documentation to back up what you're saying. This Yale study backs up to the fact that the expanded benefits did not deter people from seeking employment. So we'll move on from that. So next time you hear people talking about that, refer them over to the Yale study with these economists and let them read that and then see if they change their opinion. Maybe not. We'll see. In Texas, if you haven't heard about what Texas is doing now, Texas is allowing people to carry handguns without a license, background check, or training. The governor, which is, I think it's Abbott, Greg Abbott is the governor. He said his bill get to his desk, he was signing. Texas lawmakers have gave final approval for a measure that allows people to carry handguns without a license or background check or training. So there you go, folks. You just buy yourself a gun. Now, it does have some restrictions. You can't be a felon. You can't be a felon, and that's the only restriction. Other than that, you can go buy yourself a handgun. You can strap on 2 of them like you do in the Wild West, and you can just walk down the streets. No training, no license, no nothing. Now, isn't it interesting that people will make it easier to carry a handgun, but make it harder for you to try to vote? Huh? So, ain't that a contrast? So I got to jump through all these hoops in order to cast my vote. But if I want to grab a handgun or a weapon of mass destruction, like a handgun or rifle, I don't need no training. I don't need no permit. That's all I got to do is get it cash to who's ever selling the weapon, get it back, and hey, I'm good to go. Something wrong there, folks. So now there was a poll taking place. The majority of Texas voters, 59%, oppose the permitless carry, according to a University of Texas Tribune poll conducted last month. So the University of Texas / the Texas Tribune did a poll, and 59% of the Texas residents who participated in the poll say they oppose this piece of legislation, but the state legislators and Governor Abbott is following through. I'll give you somebody else. Kevin Lawrence, who is the executive director of the Texas Municipal Police Association, said crime rates increased and police reported challenges after passage of such laws in at least 4 states. And he also said it's going to make the job of the officers on the streets more difficult. That's what Mr. Lawrence told the Washington Post. So even the police agencies are against this piece of legislation, but I guess Governor Abbott and his cohorts don't care what the police say. I thought they were pro-police, but now they sign bills which the police are in opposition of, and yet, well, you can figure it out. Well, this is the 1 year of George Floyd's death in Minneapolis. And his family, of course, met with President Biden in Washington to try to get the try to get Congress to pass the George Floyd police reform bill. Now, the U.S. House of Representatives have passed the bill. The bill is over in the Senate. And, of course, the Senate, some of these folks who's against the bill, mostly all of them are Republican, and they had some issues with the bill. I just want to give you a rundown of what's in this bill that these senators are opposed to. And, I don't understand why they are opposed to this piece of legislation, which I'll tell you what's in this bill, in this George Floyd Police Reform Act. Now, what's in the bill is a ban no-knock warrants in federal drug cases, along with chokeholds, encourage local and state agencies to comply with trying to ban federal funding. A no-knock warrant led to the fatal shooting of, a 26-year-old Breonna Taylor. Now, you're always familiar with that in Louisville last year. It ends qualified immunity, and I'll get back to that qualified immunity in a minute. This protects law enforcement officers from most civil lawsuits. The bill also makes it easier to prosecute police officers accused of misconduct by lowering the legal standard from willfulness to recklessness, prohibits racial, religious, and discriminatory profiling by law enforcement agencies at the local, state, federal level, and mandate training against such discriminatory profiling. It also requires local and state police agencies to use existing federal funds to ensure the use of body cameras. And so a lot of departments are going to body cameras, which is a good thing. It also creates a national police misconduct registry to prevent officers who are fired or pushed out for bad performance from being hired by other agencies. It also addressed police militarization by limiting how much military-grade equipment is awarded to the state and local law enforcement agency. Now, that qualified immunity, the qualified immunity came about, the Supreme Court created the qualified immunity defense in 1967. UCLA law professor Jonas Schwartz wrote in a review. At the time, they called it a good faith immunity for constitutional violations. But now, by now, the way the courts has defined qualified immunity, it protects government officers, including law enforcement officers, from damages, civil damages, so it doesn't apply to criminal cases unless an officer is violated with the courts call clearly established law. So maybe these lawmakers are opposed to getting rid of qualified immunity because it protects them. So we have to make sure we call our senators, we call our representatives, and we say, hey, you know, we need to support this George Floyd police reform because it's the right thing to do, and it's a step forward. It's not a cure-all, it's a step forward toward holding these police officers accountable. And we need this bill to pass. It passed the House, it's in the Senate. You know, do your part, spread the word. You can call your representatives and your Senate people. Having said that, I know you probably seen or heard this person by the name of Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a Republican representative from Georgia. She's on the far right, according to some of the news outlets. But what she did was, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she said that she compared the measures to combat the coronavirus to the treatment of Jewish people during the Holocaust.
Look back in a time in history where people were told to wear a gold star, and they were definitely treated like second-class citizens, so much so that they were put in trains and taken to gas chambers in Nazi Germany. And this is exactly the type of abuse that Nancy Pelosi is talking about.
Now, this woman said because in the House of Representatives you have to wear a mask. That's the mandate. This Marjorie Taylor Greene equated wearing a mask, which is a safety and a safety measure, to the killing of over 6 million Jewish men, women, and children. See, folks, and this person is a representative, elected representative by the people in her district in Georgia. And to say that wearing a mask is equatable to what the Jewish people suffered in the Holocaust, these people, she should come on national TV and give an apology for how she equated that. That don't make any sense, what she did. And you know what? The sad part is the leadership in the Republican Party, from Mitch McConnell to Kevin McCarthy to whoever these people are, it took him over 5 days to respond and condemn these comments. See, that's why we have a problem, folks. We have people out here talking crazy, like this Marjorie Taylor Greene, and then we got folks who are in leadership positions, and the responsibility of a leader is to guide people and to help people, and this is definitely not helpful. It's not guiding anybody, it's just crazy talk. And yet, they fail to even quickly respond to it. And so, I just wanted to bring that up. I couldn't let that go by, this Marjorie Taylor Greene. Equated wearing a mask to prevent the coronavirus to the Jewish Holocaust. This is where we are, folks. And people elected this woman to go to Washington to do what? Insult people? Belittle people? Talk about a tragedy of a Holocaust to compare it to wearing a mask for coronavirus? Is that what the people in Georgia elected this woman to go to do? because certainly I haven't seen any bills that she sponsored that help people. I haven't heard anything come out of her mouth that would help people. So come on, y'all. Let's stop sending people like this to represent anybody. So I'll move on. Just wanted to bring that up. I'm moving on. I done said my piece. You probably remember Milli Vanilli, right? You know the group, and they got caught lip singing and all that kind of thing. Well, one of the persons behind one of the hit records they had was a man named John Davis. Now, why I bring that up? Because John Davis was actually the real Milli Vanilli singer, and he died from COVID-19 at 66. And his daughter posted a post up that said her dad passed away through the coronavirus, and that was back on May the 24th. And he said his daughter said he made a lot of people happy with his laughter and his smile. And Milli Vanilli, that was a duo. They were made up of Rod Pilatus and Fabrice Marvin, and they were created by a guy named Frank Fabian. And Rod Pilatus, he died in 1988 at 33. I guess the pressure got to him. And I just wanted to bring up this guy named John Davis, because a lot of people didn't know who was the voices behind Milli Vanilli. They knew they got caught lip singing, but they said, hey, who was doing the singing? Well, John Davis was one of the persons who was doing the singing on some of those tracks that became big hits, by the way. As a matter of fact, John Davis did go out and he did do a little solo career and do concerts, because he had a pretty good voice. And matter of fact, him and Rob Pilatus, Fabrice Marvin became pretty good friends until the day he died. So I wanted to bring that up, give him a little recognition, because Milli Vanilli, they were a big hit back then in the 80s, and when they got caught lip singing, the faces of the people who did the voices behind the real singing never got any attention. So John Davis was one of those persons. So that's why I wanted to bring that up. The other thing is violent song lyrics increase aggression. Now here's a study. This was done by Iowa State University. Craig Anderson did a study, and him and his research team, they researched it and they tested it. And what they come out with is that, they said people who listen to violent lyric songs act out more aggressively. And I bring that up and I say that because we see a lot of violence through this country. There's been a rash of shootings and, this kind of thing. And people say, oh man, where's this coming from? Well, if you program people to listen to lyrics that is violent, then most likely you will get a response that is violence, because they're being programmed to act in a certain way. That's why I say you have to be cautious of what you listen to and what your children listen to. Because if they listen to that on a regular basis, with the beat and with the lyrics, it's implanted into their subconscious. And once they're faced with a situation like what the entertainer was singing about, they're going to respond in that way. And you know what? Most of these people, I say all these people who make these songs with this violent lyrics, talking about what they're going to do, talking about they're going to get their gun and they're going to do all this stuff, these people ain't doing none of that. That's an act. That's to sell records. These people don't live in the hood. These people live in a gated community, which most folks, including me, we can't even afford a house over there. These people don't live the life they're singing about. They're singing death. They're singing destruction. They're using all kind of vulgar language to describe women, and yet they're getting paid. And then when people who listen to this stuff act it out, y'all going to jail if you get caught creating violence. So let's be a little bit smart about this, folks. Let's not program ourselves for destruction, right? Let's not do that anymore. So if I know somebody's going to feed me poison, I'm not going to eat the piece of cake the poison in. So I'm trying to alert you to what's the poison in this music, so you won't have to eat the poison, all right? Because it's dangerous. I'm telling you, folks, these violent lyrics And this study from Iowa State University, proves that. So, and it's all kind of music. You know what I mean? It was all kind of song lyrics and all kind of music. It just wasn't one type. It was just violence. There's violence in some other type of music besides, rap music. There's violence in some other music I heard coming from some entertainers, which was terrible. So we have to be attuned to what we're being programmed for. Right? We can be programmed to destroy each other, or we can be programmed to help one another. The choice is yours. We have choices in this country, folks. We got choices. We can choose, as we say, and a lot of people say, oh, this is a Christian country. Oh, it's a Christian. Well, let's prove it. Let's prove it. Because if you say you are a Christian country, right, and you got lawmakers who's holding up pieces of legislation that will help somebody in need, that lawmaker is not looking like he's too Christian to me. See, 'cause Jesus said, what you do to the least of thee, you do to me. And I'm going to keep saying that because it's true. I mean, that's what it said. Jesus said, what you do to the least of thee. Right? And so all these lawmakers who are in state houses in Washington, if you trying to prevent folks from getting help, you going against the teachings of Jesus. But I'm not going to preach. I'll leave that to the pastor of this church. I always say that. I'm not going to preach. I'll leave that to the pastor of this church. He does it a lot better than me. I just like to bring up things so people can realize that we were put on this earth to help one another, not to kill one another, not to name call one another, not to belittle one another, because that don't help them. That don't help mankind at all. So, I think I'll close with that. My next show, yeah, I want you to be in tune to the next show because we got a very special guest, and we're going to talk about voter suppression coming to the state of Ohio. It's coming, folks. There's a House bill out there right now, House Bill 294, I believe it is. I got a special guest coming, and we're going to talk about that House bill. We're going to talk about this voter suppression. We're going to talk about some gerrymandering, and we're going to talk about some other things. I'm not going to reveal the guest name right now. I want you to tune in so you can see who it is and the information that they have to offer. It's going to be a real jam-packed show. I may just lend the whole half hour just to that one guest because these things are important, folks. We want to make sure you get the opportunity to vote, and if these lawmakers come with these voter suppression pieces of legislation, we want to make sure you know what to do to try to stop this thing from happening. We're going to be on the front end of this thing. We're not going to be on the back end. Sometimes we always coming late. The bill already passed and signed into law, and then we come protesting the bill. We're not going to do that. We're going to be on the front end so that we can try and give our voices to try to make sure that we're going to try to make it easier for people to vote, not harder for people to vote. So tune in to the next show. Until then, may God bless you and your family.